Hey guys, Jonah here, back with another beer review video. You know how we roll. And if you watched yesterday's review, you will know that we had something reasonably special, which is this bad boy. It is the Guinness Cold Brew Coffee Nitro Stout. And that side of the can is kind of black. And this one has a bit more of that kind of swirl. Where are we? That swirliness, which is over on that side of the can. Now, I have to be a bit careful because if you listen to what I was saying yesterday, you got to be careful with a nitro can. And this bad boy is really, really taut, shall we say? So I have to get this in the glass. And guess what? I have got. Let's put it over there. Whoops. Lots of lights reflected off everything, but that is definitely a Guinness glass. So I am going to have to do this pretty quickly. If I had a nice setup and a nice bar to work with, I could do this nice and quickly. I could, because I've got the glass being held between my legs, I could give you a crotch shot and show you what I'm doing, but no. If you're not filming yourself, you would probably do this on a table, but unfortunately the table is all used up, and if I'm leaning over there, you're not going to see me, so I'm going to have to be quite careful. Right, boom, and there we go with the pour, and you'll notice I am pouring it slightly against the side of the glass. I could go a bit more aggressive and see what we get, but I don't want it to go over the top of the glass, which it shouldn't do. There we go. Look at that. Let me turn this around so we get the Guinness in there too. We get that in there, and then that will be today's thing. But look at that, the upside down kind of snowstorm, they call it sometimes. Look at that. And weirdly, that is a pint glass, and this, oh no, it does say 440. I was going to say that the can is actually bigger than the glass, but obviously slightly narrower. And look at that, it's at 4% as well. 4% on the ABV. So this is actually lighter in alcohol than normal Guinness, which is 4.2 at the moment. Although these things do change. It's tended to be coming down, and I believe that's partly due to the tax in the UK, which, or maybe it's the EU, I don't know, the way they work out the tax. Now, that looks really black, but look down the bottom, you will see round here, and it's really, my finger is really going for it, in the light I should say, not jet black. Tilt the camera down a tiny bit. Did I nudge it just then? If I did, then I do apologise. Now, if you were ever wondering what a nitro head is all about, check that out. Very, very small, smooth, white bubbles. And this head will stick around all the way to the bottom of the glass. Now, I have to say, this is not the first cold brew coffee beer that I've had. I had a couple last night, in fact, but it's the first one I'm doing a recording on. And the reason why, I've been looking at this beer for ages and ages, and the reason why I haven't done one of these before, pure roastiness, is purely because these bad boys cost a lot more in the supermarket than the normal Guinness. At the moment, these were £6. There we go. That's better. You can see my Schneider Racing Cams t-shirt. Yes, £6. Now, I managed to get these on a deal from a supermarket called Tesco's in the UK. They're doing a deal. You can get them for £5.50. Actually, no, it wasn't Tesco's. It was Asda. But Asda and Tesco's had the same deal, and I didn't pick them up in Tesco's. But the next day, I went to Asda, and they thinking maybe they'd have the same deal, and they did. So 10% off. But I still think £5.50 for 4 cans of beer is expensive in a supermarket. From an off license, maybe not. Definitely from the pub, no chance. But I've not seen this in the pubs yet, the cold brew coffee one. Anyway, let's dive in. Obviously, coffee. This has got coffee in it. And as we know, cold brew coffee is coffee made with cold water instead of hot water, and left for a lot longer. So you get the infusion, but you don't get the kind of, especially if you're using espresso coffee, proper coffee as we call it, you get all those gritty bits coming through. If you do cold brew coffee, everything settles out, and you get a very finer, pure coffee. It is a fad, in my opinion, but if you like your cafe frappes or things like that, sort of, not exactly the same, but cold coffee, if you like cold coffee. There is also some chocolate there, so some sort of roasty beans. There's obviously the Guinness roastedness there, but definitely the kind of, coffee and chocolate, but sour, dark, bitter chocolate. And weirdly, the aroma is quite sweet. And if you remember yesterday, I have got a cold, so my sense of smell is still not on point. But look at that. The head has not moved at all, and I've been chatting to you for at least sort of 2 or 3 minutes. If it was the Dogma beer from yesterday, the head had gone within 30 seconds, and this one is still there. And I strongly think this head will be all the way down to the bottom of the glass. Cheers and beers. Sláinte. Now, as it's going down, very smooth. However, already I'm getting a good amount of bitterness. And this is from the coffee, but also from that kind of chocolate kind of taste, the bitter chocolate, which you don't get in normal Guinness. It's a real shame. If you've ever had green coffee, it's a thing. It's weird because it's not green. It sort of looks a bit like tea. It's kind of amber coloured, but it's incredibly bitter, and that's what I'm getting through this. I've never actually had cold brew coffee. I'm not really a coffee guy. I live in England. I'm a tea guy. The drink of the gods, apart from beer. Wow, quite carbonated, but nitro carbonated. I have to say, I still prefer the original. Well, I like Guinness original, but original draft nitro Guinness, in my opinion, is far better than this. And I would be very, very surprised if they ever release wide scale coffee brew cold no, cold brew coffee beer through the pump at your local pub, I would be incredibly surprised. And I'd be even more surprised if a lot of pubs didn't do it, because it's such a niche thing. Which is weird, because Guinness you can find across the whole world. Nearly every pub, especially in the UK, but in America too, you can find Guinness in bars in very small, out in the middle of the country, in the middle of nowhere. You can probably find Guinness, which is crazy. But this one, no, not. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not as good as normal draft Guinness. And yeah, this is from a can, so it's not full on draft Guinness. I totally get that, but yeah, it's just weird. I'm also getting. Remember, I said when I was smelling the aroma for this beer that there's a sweetness there that is coming through, and I very much suspect that they've put something in there, maybe some lactose, something, to try and counteract the incredible bitterness that you're getting as well. And bear in mind, I have got a cold, so perhaps it would be different if I was in all senses at full strength, if they ever are. and you probably watch my videos, right? But yeah, this one should not be more expensive than than the normal draft Guinness, in my humble opinion. You know me, I'm a bit tight-fisted. That's why I do homebrewing. But yeah, oh yeah, look, let's do a head count. Look at that. I'm still got a finger's head. I didn't do a finger at the top, but I'm almost convinced that it's the same size, apart from a couple of bits down here. That is the same head that was on the top. I'll tell you a story. There was a pub, and it was round the corner from my school, weirdly enough. And it wasn't the one that the teachers went into. Some of the technicians and some of the kind of non-teachers went to this pub, but not very often. And me and my friends went there for St. Patrick's Day. Oh, the other reason is because they had imported Guinness, because Guinness contract brewed in the UK. So a lot of Guinness you get in the UK is not brewed in Ireland, it's brewed in the UK. Anyway, that's an aside. This pub got their beer for some reason directly from Guinness itself, from Ireland. It was an Irish pub, obviously. And on St. Patrick's Day, which I think in this case was a Friday, me and I think 6 of my friends went to this pub. We got there about 7, 8 o'clock, I think it was. And they said, and we knew this in advance, between 7 and 8 or whatever it was, or 8 and 9, Guinness was £1 a pint, which is pretty good for buying beers in a pub. And so I went up first. Not saying I was the leader, but I went up first. 5 pints of Guinness, please. Dunk, 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 dunk. Guinness takes a couple of minutes, or just under it. I think it's 113 seconds or something like that to pour a Guinness properly. So it took a while. £5. Boom, boom, boom. My friend came in. Oh, what do you want? Did I not get it right? No, I'll have 5 pints of Guinness. Chunk. And then my next friend comes up and he goes, okay, let me guess, 5 pints of Guinness? Yep. So we had 30 pints of Guinness. And what we did, because this old pub, had a piano, I believe, in the corner, like a lot of pubs used to have. They used to do sing-alongs and stuff, but that's a little bit before my time. But anyway, so we put 30 pints of Guinness across the top of this piano, and it took us a couple of hours to drink all 5 of our pints, because it's quite heavy going. You can drink a Guinness pretty quick at the beginning, but try and drink 5 in a row. You know, in under an hour or so, you won't be able to do anything else after that. And we had a few more after that as well. But the moral of this story, or the bit of this story which is cool, the heads of all the Guinnesses lasted for 2 hours on top. So my last pint of Guinness had a head that big on the top. The pint itself had got to room temperature. It wasn't cold anymore, or cellar temperature. It wasn't one of these extra cold Guinnesses. But the cap on the top was still there on the last one after 2 hours, or an hour and a half, whatever it was. Ooh, nitrogen burps. Wow. Or carbon and nitro mix. Pub gas. Look at that. It's one of those unique things about nitrogen beers, and it's genius, pure genius. Anyway, I've been rambling on for long enough. If you fancy trying a cold brew coffee beer, go for it. Pay through the nose. And I don't think you can buy these in single cans, or it's difficult to. You have to buy a 4-pack at the least, and you will be paying through the nose. But don't be surprised if you go, yeah, it's okay, but it's not as good as Guinness I can get for $4.50 or whatever it is. Oh, and there she is, the head, still there. If I waited for a couple of minutes for it all to settle out, that head, okay, it's just under a finger now. But if I waited for a little bit of time, that would be back up at a finger's head, more or less where it started from, somewhere up here. Cheers and beers, guys. Like I say, it's a thing to try and sell more Guinness, really. Cold brew coffee beer. Not sure, not convinced. Stick to the normal Guinness, that's what I say. Guys, this has been Unclejona drinking coffee, cold brew coffee beer, so you guys don't have to. Please appease the elder gods of YouTube. Click like, click subscribe. Please comment, what the hell do you think of Guinness? Is it your thing? Is it not your thing? For me, it's probably one of the beers that I've drunk the most of in my life. And I've always liked Guinness, and I think I always will like Guinness. But if you don't, let me know why. Comment down below. And we'll see you tomorrow for more beer reviews. Till then, Shamon from Unclejona.